thank you all for coming to this cooking class. It's, I don't know, the fourth or fifth one of the semester. Um, so yeah, thanks for showing up, and some of the repeat joiners. Thank you for sticking with our cooking classes this semester. So today we have a fun class led by Professor Pass from the Spanish Department. She's a great professor, so I assume she's even better cooking class leader. We'll see. You guys can be the judges. But since it's a small class, like, feel free to, unmute yourself if you have questions. I don't know if anyone is cooking along, but in case you need to ask a question as you're going, or if it's going too fast or too slow, feel free to put something in the chat, which I'll be watching, or just unmute yourself and holler. But that is all I really have to say, and I'll pass it over to you, Professor Pass.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you all, different places. If you are cooking along, put some kind of reaction button up so I can know that we'll be performing all these fun steps together. Or is anyone, are most people just kind of watching and learning, which is absolutely fine. Okay. All right, one more request in the chat. If you would just put where you are watching from, that would be fun. I know we have someone in Maryland, Lancaster. Just in the chat, if you would put, okay, Carlisle, que bien, Mechanicsburg, nice, not too far, New York, wonderful. All right. Okay, Ireland. Oh my goodness. Wow. All right, we have a great group. Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm Mariana, and I am so glad to be here. I couldn't say no to Maddie's invitation last fall to prepare something for this exciting series of virtual demos to showcase the farm and all their bounty. So what I'm gonna do is show you a few of the arepa ingredients and let them get started, because they need to sit for a few minutes before they begin cooking. And then I'll show you some images of different approaches to arepas, just a tad about their history, because it's pretty interesting. And then we'll cook. And this will probably take less than an hour because they're very simple. Also, I don't know if you can see the sticker. I'm a very proud vaccinated person, but that was the second shot, and they say it can affect you. So if I get a little off, I'll just rely on the PowerPoint more, and you'll kind of know, oh, that's what happened to her. So hopefully this will all go smoothly, but I'll appreciate Maddie's support and your understanding if any weird symptoms strike. So has anyone had arepas before? I'm curious. Do you know, you have? Where, Antya?
Oh, I have somewhere in New York. Yeah, definitely. I think I may have even tried to make them at some point, but not all that successful.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Christian, you've had them?
Oh, crap. I didn't mean to do
that's fine. It's great.
Go ahead.
Yes, Arepa City in Harrisburg.
Oh, I love Arepa City. They're not currently open, but they were awesome. Chile and Spain. Okay, great. So arepas are becoming much more popular. And back in the 80s, for those of you who remember the 80s, the phenomenon of Taco Tuesdays became popular out in Western states for some reason. So that has been a thing in the United States. And I actually think that the future of food involves not just Taco Tuesday, but arepas any day, because they're just so easy and they're so good and versatile. So those of you who have had them, you can see my version, but there's a ton of different versions and you can really not go wrong. You can go somewhat wrong, and I have, but it's actually really simple and it's something kids can carry around and, you know, or you can dress them up and make them more elegant for a gathering if you want, when there's not a pandemic. So the basic ingredient is cornmeal flour for arepas. There's many different brands, but this is just a fine cooked cornmeal. And the Dickinson farm generously shared some yellow cornmeal, which I learned the hard way. It's really good. This is not cooked, so it absorbs water differently. And the arepas I made with only that last week were very different from the other ones I made. So I'm going to use a combination of those meals. And some people put cheese directly in them, kind of shredded cheese. You can put eggs. You can make them as rich or thick as you want. But the basic approach is you take 1 cup of the arepa flour. I'm going to make 2 cups because my kids are hungry. And we need a few extras. And then you put an equal amount of water and some salt. So how much salt? Oh, roughly a teaspoon is fine. Sometimes I put more. You can put pepper in there. You can put anything you want. But I like to warm up the water. And I'm going to pour it in. Una y dos. When you start out making this arepa batter, I suppose is the best word, you want to err on the side of not enough water. That I also learned the hard way, because if you put too much water in there, then it's hard to shape the arepas in the pan and they become a little more like pancakes. So you just want to mix it and create, it's going to be kind of a thick batter. And we're going to let it sit a few minutes before putting it in the pan. That's key, so that it kind of sets, and then you can make these little patties that are easy to flip. That's ideal. Looks like I need a little more water.
Someone in the chat asked if you can use maseca. I don't know what that is.
Maseca, that might be a brand that I haven't heard of. Where did you find that?
Walmart.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's fine cooked, it might be for making tamales. I mean, there's different versions of this stuff, and you could certainly fry any of them.
Okay.
But it's not going to be far off, even if it's not specifically for arepas. So almost there. I told you to err on the side of not too much water, and so I didn't have nearly enough. But that's okay. It'll sit here, and we'll have really nice little patties, which for me is kind of rare. These are, as you can tell, they're kind of easy. This is not a really fussy gourmet kind of thing, but the stuffings that you can put in them can please any palates, whether it's all gluten-free. I like it best vegetarian, but you can stuff them with meats, cheese, vegetables, whatever. So we're gonna just sit that there, and I'm gonna show you just a few photos and a few fun facts about arepas, so you can get a sense of where they come from and why I find them interesting. Here we go. So, and don't worry, I will not read all of this. So this is the Farms series. I'm thrilled to be here on April 1st. Spring is here, sort of. And so this recipe showcases not just this show is about recipes not just from the Americas writ large, but from pre-Columbian Americas. And I think that's kind of cool because so much has changed in Latin America over the past 500 years, but this arepa recipe hasn't changed much. So I think it's one of the last remaining traces of those civilizations that's still a part of daily life. So one other thing I have to mention is that I coordinate the Dickinson in Ecuador and Argentina program. So South America is near and dear to my heart. Couldn't not put in a photo. Mr. Du Bois, maybe you recognize someone in there. That is our farm coordinator. So our students really get to know South America pretty well. We have great opportunities for them. So here are many kinds of arepas. You've seen them maybe plain on the left. You can put things on top of them, and you can slice them and stuff them with things. There's many variations. So the concept is simple, and it hails from northern South America. It's kind of like gorditas in Mexico and pupusas in San Salvador. But mostly arepas are found in Venezuela and Colombia. Bolivia does have them too, and people eat them daily. Okay, so I won't read all of this, just letting you know, these things used to be cooked on clay slabs, and no one has the corner on the market on their history, but they date to not quite 3,000 years ago. So they've been around a long time. And as I said, arepas are one of the free pre-European contact traditions that are still popular in the Americas. So there are McDonald's throughout Latin America, but arepas still rule the day. So just a couple images. Venezuela has all different kinds. My cats and kids are going to wander through here, so there's a little extra sound. That's what that is. Hey. And they want some arepas. They always devour them. Has anyone had particularly Venezuelan arepas? The one in Harrisburg, Arepas City, that is closed now, they were Venezuelan. So
I think I also had Venezuelan. I remember there was a Venezuelan restaurant in New York where I had them.
wonderful. So it's really a symbol of gastronomy from Venezuela, and nearly 70% of people eat them all the time. And they can be a snack, they can be a side, they can be a main dish. It's kind of a cornerstone. And before the food shortages, people ate about 30 kilos of this flour every year. So this is a very popular dish. And in the Andes, they sometimes use wheat flour instead of corn. So there are variations locally. So the Andean region is slightly different. Now we have rival arepas in Colombia. And if any of you knows Professor Carolina Castellanos from Colombia, she can defend her version. I am nonpartisan. I just like arepas in general. But Colombia has its own history of this iconic food. There's a Colombian Academy of Gastronomy that touts the arepa as part of their cultural heritage. And in Paisa, it's particularly important. Arepas are also strung onto necklaces and placed around the necks of honored dignitaries as a sign of praise. Think Hawaii and the beautiful flowered leis. This is South America's answer to that. So arepas are very versatile. I don't quite recommend doing that, but you could try. Last little bit before we start cooking. Yeah, everyone in Colombia tends to buy these bags of pre-molded white or yellow corn dough. It's just a mix. You buy it and you make it at home. Street vendors sell arepas, and there's a huge Colombian arepa festival in all the major cities. So there's a lot of rivalries. There's a lot of we're the best. They're just good. So you don't need to take a stand unless you know someone and particularly want to. So let's see, shout out here. Someone from outside Pittsburgh. There we go. Lots of Latin American food. Okay, great. Anyone have any questions before we start cooking? Any complaints? I understand. I ask my students. Okay, great. So now I'm going to turn this so you can see the pan. We have this lovely thick dough, and I'm going to turn up the fire. And okay, so we're basically just going to pan fry these things in some butter. You could put a whole lot in there, or you can be reasonable and do a small amount. So arepas, oh, this is beautiful. It's working perfectly for you, which is fortunate for me too. We're going to just roll them and make these little patties. Now they can be really big or they can be tiny. Think dollar pancakes. You can't go wrong. These are kind of easy to stuff. So as soon as the butter starts melting, I'm going to make little circles. I'm going to make probably 6 or 8 of these. And we'll do 2 batches. All right. Arepas are not expensive. That's a nice thing too. So they're very accessible. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Just sort of roll them around. The idea is to get them nice and chewy on the outside. And I mean, you want them golden, and then on the inside, they're warm and chewy. So those of you who've eaten arepas, while I'm doing this, why don't you say what your filling was and what you liked the best about them? And I'm going to pick on Antia first. If you want to just share what you had.
You know, in all honesty, it's been quite some time ago and I don't remember it in detail, but I don't know, maybe as a side note or so, so in a way it is quite related to tacos, isn't it? It's just sort of a thicker version of it.
Yeah, tacos are made with tortillas, which are really thin, and they're like
yeah, I mean, yeah. So no, I mean the tortilla, because I mean it's basically also corn flour,
yeah,
or wheat flour, and then just rolled really really thin. Because I know that my daughter has made them at some point, and they were good, but not that exciting in compared to all the work that it took. But so okay. I feel that the arepas, that makes even more of a difference when they're fresh compared to buying them in some frozen or pre-made state.
Oh yeah, and your house will smell really good after you make these. That's one thing that Zoom doesn't do.
That's
also,
yeah.
It saves you in case I mess up badly. Anyone else want to talk about their arepas?
Yeah. Shredded beef. I think it was shredded beef, one with beans and cheese as well. I mean, 3 different kinds.
Oh man, that sounds good. What did you like the best?
I think I liked all of them. Very difficult to choose.
Yeah, no. Okay, great. I'm gonna have to wash my hands or I can't pick up the spatula. Someone asked, okay, Peggy said cheese inside. Yes. And I'll show you the cheese that we have in a second. What is the difference between corn flour and finely ground cornmeal? Well, I think it's essentially the same thing, but for arepas, you want the cooked version so it absorbs the water better. It's the same essential thing, but one version is just a little finer and it's already a step towards, being ready to consume. So let me do this right quick.
Yeah, I've actually just been wondering if maybe sort of because polenta is cooked corn flour basically, if you could use that. I mean, if you don't have the pre-cooked flour, if you could use basically make like a polenta and then use that as your dough.
I would bet that you could, Antje, frankly. I think you totally could. And there's an easy way to find out.
Just
Doesn't
trying it.
be Tuesday, but seriously, I made different kinds last week to see what might work best today. And the raw cornmeal mixed with water, don't do that. It's too just, it doesn't absorb that well. So you want the
Yeah, I think the corn needs to be cooked somehow to become smoother. Otherwise, it's very crunchy, I assume.
yeah. And so my kids ate them all anyway.
Good.
My, sensibilities were, I was like, oh, it's better to mix it. You can use some, and the Dickinson, the raw fine cornmeal worked fine in some of the Arepa stuff. Any other
Okay.
questions? I'm about to flip these guys.
I have a question. What heat are you cooking them at? Like, is it super hot or?
I will show you right here. It's, medium, and you can do high heat, but if you're doing a Zoom show at the same time and you're a little distracted, you could destroy them. So I'm going on the side of medium, and we'll flip them in just a minute and you'll see the golden sides. So maybe a few more photos and then we'll get through the fun facts. All right. This is the recipe that you have. And this is one version, obviously. There's so many ways of doing this. All through these recipes, I put in green things that the Dickinson Farm offers, and certainly local CSAs, wherever you live. Okay. Yep, so masarepa is one version. Maseca might be the same thing. I just am not familiar with it. So again, too many details, but this is just kind of a list of all the different ways people make arepas. It's maize or corn flour. People can grill it, bake it, fry it, even boil it or steam it, which is how tamales are made, right? So there's infinite iterations of this. The color can be whiter, yellower, browner. You can make it vegetarian or not. Sometimes people put eggs and milk in it, make it a little richer. It blends really easily into patties if you don't put too much water. If you do, the way to save it is a little cornstarch and a little grated cheese. That's always helpful. So you can put a lot of grated cheese and really get them back into fighting shape. I've never heard this word before, nixtamalization. It's some process. Has anyone heard of that word? Peeled corn. I think that's how the hominy is made, but don't hold me to that. I need to look these things up. All right. So here's some different names for masarepa. Masa al instante or harina precocida, which is pre-cooked flour. There's many different brands. Yeah, so you can get them at Wise Markets in Carlisle. You can get this stuff through Amazon, which is what I do because I try to buy it in bulk. Anyway, yeah, this is a wonderful slaw that is super, super simple. The cabbage, it's Napa cabbage, came from the Dickinson farm, gracias. Cilantro, just chopped up really fine. And then a dressing, which could not be simpler. I'd put the dressing on right before you want to eat it so it doesn't sit too long. So we'll do that at the end. All right, now we're going to turn these things and let's cross our fingers. Let's see. There's one. Oh, nice. This is working really well. Okay. I'll show you the pan up close in a second. But there are these little golden cakes. Right here. You can see those guys. And it'll take just another couple of minutes to finish them. Yep, and I'm pressing them down lightly just to, yeah, cook them a little more thoroughly. Even if you don't cook them all the way, like cookies or something, it doesn't have eggs, so you're not gonna be at risk of anything. Not that that stops me. Oh, and I should have stopped sharing the screen. Here we go. Now you can see a little more closely. Yeah. Little golden arepa friends. Yay. And the house smells really good. And I know one of my kids texted me and was like, when are they going to be ready? So, okay, we'll look at just a few more photos and then sort of put this together. After this slaw, oh yeah, Tex-Mex salsa. I couldn't not include this. This is my dad's very favorite recipe, which he doesn't claim to have invented, but close. You get all this stuff. Tomatoes off season aren't that good, so we use canned. You can use fresh ones. Beautiful garlic from the Dickinson farm. Thank you, Maddie. Have a very nice one. I used the other one. Jalapenos. You can use serranos, but they're much hotter. And then a bunch of cilantro. You can put in a ton and use the stems because why not? You're just going to blend it up. We use liquid smoke. I don't know if you can get this in Ireland. If you're the person in Ireland, have you ever seen this? I don't know. It's a barbecue.
Yeah, actually I saw a version of it finally in a kind of gourmet store here. So yeah, I do have some good one here.
Oh, nice.
Like a hickory one, actually. It's like, I think it's actually from California. It's lazy kettle brand. I think it's imported, but at any rate, I found it.
So. I mean, it's just a little splash of a kind of, it gives depth to the salsa. This claims to be natural mesquite. I don't really know, but it's just, it's
yeah.
addition. And then lime juice always gives it a little more of a bright flavor. So I made some beforehand, and yeah, it's just again, I'll stop sharing, and it's almost time to harvest the arepas. This is just a nice thick sauce. It looks like lots of sauces you've seen before, but it has a really fresh, a nice bite to it, and the lime juice really makes it good. You can freeze this. My dad puts it in little things in the freezer and then brings them out. It's almost just as good in an emergency. You want salsa, so you can do that. Okay, I think we're very close on these things. Let me see. No, we need a few more minutes because I turned the fire down, and that's fine. Why don't we finish these? See if there's anything else in the chat. Okay. Oh, nice. That's what they use to make hominy, the nixtamalization process. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so we're almost done. After the salsa recipe, this is a shout out to Chela's Arepa Kitchen in Lancaster, which is a lovely place, and you can get all kinds of flavors. They really know what they're doing. There's a little kind of food truck near Costco up in the sort of northeast section of town, and then Chela's Arepa Kitchen is further north of town, the restaurant itself. And okay, so that's all my slides showing beautiful arepas in the world. These need like 1 more minute. So does anyone have questions or comments about this process? Or any other good experiences with arepas?
I have a question. What's your favorite arepa filling?
By far, it's avocados and cheese. I love it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So
And do you use just any kind of cheese or?
oh, thank you, Antia, for asking. This is raw milk cheese. Maddie, do you want to explain where that comes from?
Sure. The short answer is I don't really know, but it's from a local farm, I think, and it's what the farm uses for our pizzas and other things, but mostly our pizzas that we sell at market. But yeah.
Yeah, you can use cheddar. I wouldn't do Swiss. That's not the perfect flavor, but you can't go far wrong. Any kind of cheddar. You can use queso fresco from, Mexico. You can use a lot of kinds of white cheeses. We're almost there. Another thing I learned the hard way is that you need a pot holder when you're slicing the hot arepas in half to stuff them, because if you pick them up, it hurts. Yeah, sorry. The things you learn. In the chat, I see, oh yeah, Italian canned tomatoes would be perfect. Any tomatoes are good. You can experiment with different varieties. All right, you're so close. Anyone else have questions?
I have another question. You may have said this and I missed it, but like, how do you know when they're done or like when it's time to flip and stuff like that?
I'm so glad you asked. It's really the smell. You can sort of tell, oh, it's smelling really good. And you kind of peek with the spatula, and if it's turning golden, you flip it. And you can decide, oh, it's nice, it should be a little more golden, flip it back. You can put more butter in there. You can just make them swim in butter if you like that. We try to be semi-healthy. It doesn't always work, but I don't use that much butter. Butter makes them really golden. Like with baking, you just put it on an egg yolk. You could do that. You could put egg yolk on arepas and make them just shine, but you don't need to. And then you can eat more cheese, right? So these, I'm going to show you, they're all pretty golden right here. And I think I'm going to just stop. Yeah. I'm going to just stop, and I have a plate over here. We're going to pretend that I did all of this today. The slaw needs dressing, but that'll go on there. This is really, we're done. We're going to plate the meal, and you can call your family or friends. And as long as I don't burn myself, we'll be good. So I pre-sliced some cheese from the farm, and I have an avocado here. Now this is the slightly tricky part. Could put an arepa directly on here, but a little bit of plastic is better. Yeah, then you have less laundry. I mean, this is goofy, but it's the easiest way. So you take one and you persuade it off the plate, and then you really just kind of cut it like this laterally, slice it, steaming. It's nice and hot. Can you see the steam? Woo! Fortunately, it's a cold day, so steam feels good. You put in a piece of cheese like that, and then Let me do the other one and we'll get the avocado in there. And we're basically ready to go. And you guys can throw out some other experiences or questions. And we can, this is simple. Now you know you can go home and make some if you're not already home. Let's see. Come on, avocado, don't give me trouble. La la la. This is the only awkward part. On real cooking shows on TV, there's always someone who's like invisible in the back bringing you stuff. And so, yeah, my kids are too shy. But yeah, so here's one of the arepas. Avo, and I'll get the other one stuffed. Yeah. I like to have a plate of oranges with them. Let's see. A little bit of the slaw. All right. Here we go. And what I'm going to do is put a little salsa on the side. I'm going to pretend this is like a 6-star restaurant. Sponsored by the farm, of course. A few little dots of salsa. Why not? And okay, so now you can see, here's our sort of South American, that's better. You can see the arepas, you can see the salsa and the slaw. And literally, I would eat probably 2. Kids like my son will eat 4 or 5. You find the right number for yourself and you go for it. You can have them left over. I've done that. They're close to as good. Like for a lunch, you can just microwave it. It doesn't have that same fresh off the griddle kind of aspect to it, but it's still really good and it's solid. You know you're not going to go hungry with these things. So really, oh yeah, for dessert, Nidia's flan recipe that she made before, that would be awesome with this. You would have a perfect meal because I didn't do dessert. Does anyone else have a question or a comment?
Looks delicious. That's my comment. I'm getting an appetite to seeing it.
Oh, well, when COVID's over, come over.
Thank you.
Anyone, an arepa party would be so much fun. Maddie, you have to come over too. But that is the arepa experience. If you're really like, you got it down and it's a weeknight, you can crank these out in under 20 minutes and just have some sides ready pretty fast. Or you can drag it out, impress your friends, have a whole lineup of stuffings, whatever. We just do cheese and avocado. So yeah, Maddie, you are a great host. Thank you so much for organizing.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing to do one of our online cooking classes.
Yeah, and thanks for giving Latin America a window of opportunity here. If you haven't traveled there, I do recommend it. It's a beautiful area. Yeah, near and dear to my heart, and I know Maddie as well. So yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. If you have any other questions, you can either email me at farmcoordinator@Dickinson and I'll send it over to Professor Past. Oh, thank you. That's a very nice. Yeah. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent trying to do 3 things at once, but thank you all for coming. Thank you all, especially those who have come to multiple classes. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad you've kept coming back. We have 3 more classes crammed into April. We'll have it's more of a kids cooking class next Thursday at 6. and our SEED, which is our Sustainable Earth Education student educator, is going to be making a carrot apple bread and do a little fun farm activity. So if you know anyone who would be interested in that, please let me know, or we can keep an eye out for the link for that. We'll also have a vegan cooking class, I think the week after, with one of our student educator or student researchers who will be taking over my position actually. She'll make a vegan mac and cheese. And then we'll also have an Italian cooking class with Professor Trotzi from the Italian department at the end of April. So stay tuned for all of those. Thank you all for coming. I'd love to see if anyone makes arepas, how they turn out, because I am about to go to the store and buy stuff to make it myself.